Well, hi there. So this is the last video on expository essay writing. So we have previously studied what writing is, the main purpose of expository essays, and we have worked with two of the stages that are the introduction and the body. And now we're going to analyze the final stage, the last stage, which is the conclusion. And so step 3, conclusion. So when thinking about the conclusion, which is the last step in an essay, in any essay, we need to remind the author's original purpose and summarize and highlight the generalizations formulated in the course of the discussion as along the whole paper. We need to restate the main points that have been discussed. We need to relate the ideas that were previously discussed or analyzed to what happens in the real world. And finally, we need to leave the reader with something to think about. In order to do that, we need to remember that we should never include new information in the conclusion. Yes? Because we are just rounding off what has been said and showed along the whole paper. Okay, so here are the stages in the conclusion. Stage number 1 is the recapitulation of thesis statement, then summary and highlighting of generalizations formulated in the discussion, statement of wider implications, and finally expressing limitations of present paper and encouraging further explanation of the issue. So as regards the first stage or step, we have the restatement of the thesis statement, and its function is to remind the reader of the author's original purpose and aspects to be considered in the analysis before moving on to generalizations again. So what we need to do here is to reread our thesis statement, yes, and remind the reader, yes, what has been analyzed. So you have to restate the thesis, but using different words. Let's take a look at this example. So here we have a thesis statement that says, in the course of the novel, she experiences 3 different stages: childhood, adolescence, and adulthood. And in the recapitulation of the thesis statement, we have, all in all, Rachel Cameron undergoes a significant change in her life. She develops into a mature woman. So as you can see, you are saying exactly the same as in the thesis statement, but you are using different words. So this is what you have to do in the recapitulation of the thesis statement. Recapitulate the thesis by using different words. And it's only one sentence. Stage or step 2, highlighting and summarizing of generalizations formulated in the discussion. The function is to focus the reader's attention on the generalizations arrived at as the result of the analysis carried out. So you need to go over the main aspects that were analyzed and explained along the paper. Yes, and you need to reach to some conclusions. For example, she begins as a child, still trapped in a prison that she herself has built. Her relationship with Nick and its consequences takes her to the adolescent stage where her life is full of worries and insecurities. It is not until dealing with complex situations, such as the forced pregnancy and the tumor, that she faces her irresponsibility and immaturity to become a grown-up woman who's able to deal with her own life. So what we are doing here is to summarize absolutely everything that has been said along the paper, and we are providing some specific conclusions. Stage or step 3 is the statement of wider implications. The functions of this stage are to state wider implications on the ideas discussed, to make recommendations, and to go from the general to the particular. So let's take a look at the following example. Many people might have experienced an abrupt but completely necessary process of maturation, such as Rachel's. This is why they should be willing to face the risks of being alive in spite of other people's opinions and their own uncertainties. So what this stage does is to create a connection between what has been discussed and analyzed along the whole paper with the real world. So you need to leave the reader with something to think about. Right? And the final stage or step within the conclusion is expressing limitations of the present work. And the function of this stage is to safeguard the author's performance and indicate angles of analysis not taken up in the present discussion. For example, this paper has only touched upon Rachel's process of maturation. However, much more analysis is needed in order to understand why it was so difficult for her to find her own path. So what you basically do here is to refer to an aspect or aspects that hasn't been discussed in the present paper. Okay, so with all this information, we have reached the end. So I hope this has been useful for you, and please read the material on expository essay writing carefully.